The year is 1916. The Western Front is a static, jagged scar across Europe. Millions of men are trapped in a cycle of artillery barrages and suicidal charges into machine gun fire. This is the era of the unbreakable defense. To break it, the British have introduced the Mark I, a massive rhomboid-shaped landship. It is loud, slow, and mechanically fragile. But in France, a different vision is taking shape. Colonel Jean-Baptiste, a man who would become known as the father of the tank, realizes that victory won't come from a few giants, but from a swarm of agile predators. He approaches the legendary car manufacturer Louis Renault with a proposal that will change military technology for the next century. This is the story of the Renault FT, the victory tank, and the blueprint for every armored vehicle that followed. To understand the genius of the Renault FT, you have to look at what came before it. Early tanks were essentially armored boxes built on top of tractor chassis. They were cramped, the engines shared the same space as the crew, and their guns were mounted in sponsons on the sides, giving them limited fields of fire. The Renault FT threw the rulebook away. It introduced a radical three-section layout. First, the driver was placed at the very front for maximum visibility. Second, the engine and transmission were sealed off in a separate compartment at the rear, protecting the crew from noise, heat, and toxic fumes. But the third innovation was the crown jewel, a fully rotating 360-degree turret. For the first time, a tank could engage any target without having to turn its entire hull. This single design choice is the reason the FT is called the world's first modern tank. Weight was the FT's greatest advantage. At just over 7 tons, it was light enough to be transported to the front on standard trucks, a feat impossible for the 30-ton British heavies. This gave the Allies incredible strategic mobility. The tank was powered by a 39-horsepower Renault four-cylinder engine, pushing it to a modest top speed of about 5 miles per hour. While that sounds slow, it was perfectly tuned to the pace of a walking infantryman. To handle the cratered landscape of no man's land, the FT featured a unique tail extension, a steel frame that prevented the short wheelbase tank from flipping backward when climbing out of steep trenches. It came in two main variants, the male, armed with a 37mm Puteaux cannon for destroying bunkers, and the female, equipped with an 8mm Hotchkiss machine gun for clearing trenches. The FT saw its first major action in May 1918 at the Forest of Retz. Unlike the British doctrine of using tanks as lone breakthrough weapons, Estienne deployed the FT in swarms. Hundreds of these small tanks would buzz across the battlefield, overwhelming German defenses through sheer numbers and agility. At the Second Battle of the Marne, the FT proved decisive. While German anti-tank rifles could pierce their light armor, there were simply too many tanks to stop. They could weave through forests and negotiate slopes that would bottom out a heavier vehicle by the time of the Meuse-Argonne offensive. American units under the command of a young George S. Patton were using the FT to devastating effect. The victory tank had arrived, and by the end of the war, over 3,000 had been produced, more than all other tanks combined. If you're liking the video, please remember to subscribe to Sword and Pen, where military might meets political power. We're diving deep into the machines and the maneuvers that define the global stage, from the trenches of 1918 to the drone-saturated battlefields of 2026. When the guns fell silent in 1918, the Renault FT's work was far from over. Its design was so successful that it became the global standard. The Americans built their own version, the M1917. The Italians created the Fiat 3000. The Soviets built the T-18. Even as late as 1940, during the invasion of France, hundreds of FTs were still in service, though they were hopelessly outmatched by the new German panzers. But look at a modern M1 Abrams or a T90 today. The layout is identical to the Renault FT. Driver in front, fighting compartment in the middle with a 360-degree turret, and the engine at the rear. Louis Renault and Colonel Estienne didn't just build a tank. They invented the DNA of armored warfare. The Renault FT is proof that in warfare, the biggest isn't always the best. By prioritizing mass production, modularity, and crew ergonomics, France created a weapon that could be fielded by the thousands. It allowed military might to meet political power by providing a sustainable industrial solution to the deadlock of the trenches. The FT transformed the tank from a clumsy experimental curiosity into a reliable, mobile, and lethal system of war as we look at the autonomous robot armies and the hypersonic missiles of 2026. We must remember that they all stand on the shoulders of a small 7-ton machine from a car factory in Boulogne-Billancourt. The Renault FT didn't just win World War I, it defined the next 100 years of human conflict.